Great, thanks for joining. And I'm really looking forward to sharing with you tonight. One more person joining us here. So our topic tonight is enjoying your personal life and not feeling like you're drowning so much in work. So
Mm.
how do you avoid that? How do you take yourself away from all of the responsibilities and relieve yourself of the pressures and feel like you actually have a personal life? That's my goal for this evening, is to, hi Tim, nice to
Hey
see
guys.
you,
I
is to share with you some things from my personal life and some things. Oh, actually, I'm going to ask you some just basics for Zoom. If you could mute until I open up the call for Q&A, that would be really helpful, because it records me if I'm the only one who is unmuted, which is great for people who are watching the replay. And then afterwards, you're more than welcome to raise your hand and we'll chat and discuss anything that comes up afterwards. Welcome, Erin. Nice to see you. Okay, so I have been working with physicians and midwives and healthcare professionals, as well as business leaders and community leaders for the last decade. And I've noticed that there are a few things that I have that are similar to what you might be facing tonight, which is maybe why you joined the call and why I felt compelled to teach on this tonight and offer my time. What I started noticing was when leaders get into this tunnel vision way of doing life, doing business, taking care of people, what happens is your passion can wane for what you're doing because you can get so tired and exhausted and so one track focused that you have not much left to give. And because you have such big, caring, giving hearts, it's really easy to become parched or maybe feel like you're drowning, or like if you were a landscape, you might feel like a bit of a desert. So if that's you tonight, what I want to be focusing on is helping you fall back in love with the work that you're doing like you wanted to when you first started, and be able to have that balance and energy and health and contentment in your heart, be able to see the people that you love more often, be present with them when you're with them, not just present in body, but actually be where your feet are. And my desire too is that you would gain the communication skills to be able to be clear and kind about expressing your needs and your desires at work with your staff and your colleagues, as well as with your husband or your wife or your kids. All of these things are things that I teach on, and how I've helped clients change their lives for the better. And it's such a joy for me to be involved in this work. So I just wanted to share a little bit about myself so that you can get to know me. And I'll be sharing a little bit about my story in about 20 minutes of teaching time, 20 to 30 minutes. And then I'm going to open up the call for some support and for Q&A. I'm sure it's going to bring up some questions tonight's conversation. And I want you to be able to leave with an actionable step to help you solve something that is a challenge for you right now, or be able to create something that maybe you feel like is missing in life and be able to make progress. So, a little bit about my story. A little while ago, probably even just a month ago, this is not the first time this has happened, I found myself so focused on my work and so overwhelmed with how much work I was focusing on and how big the vision felt to me. It is a big vision that I have, that I felt really bogged down and really heavy and almost like you're squished by a humongous weight. That's how I was feeling. And I started thinking, well, the only way to accomplish what I want to achieve and to be able to make progress with this big project I have on my heart is to just work, 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 work. Don't give yourself a break, Amy. Just ignore the pain in your body. It would be building up in like my shoulders and my back. And I just tell myself, it's not going to amount to anything. You put your own needs aside for a little while longer. And that's what's needed to be able to do great work. And because excellence is one of my values, doing quality work is one of my values. And you should be getting a clue right now as you listen to my story that I was trapping myself by believing my thoughts without even second guessing myself. That's what we do when we let the thoughts in and then we believe them without even putting them through a filter. We get ourselves in a lot of trouble. So the trouble I got myself in was I became more impatient, more crabby with my husband. Uh, I I don't think that I was doing as good of work as I could be doing and wanted to be producing and helping my clients with because I felt tired and used up and wasted, and therefore couldn't really be with my kids in the evenings, not that present, and wasn't enjoying life. And what are we supposed to, like, how are we going to be measuring our lives for success if we aren't even enjoying ourselves and the work that we're doing because we're so bogged down? So that's where I found myself a little while ago. And I reached a point of irritation and frustration with myself that I'd gotten into a dark place. And you might not be able to relate to being in a dark place, but I want you to latch on to one aspect of my story that you might be able to relate to, because the points that I'm going to share with you now really helped me move out of that place of feeling pressured and anxious and stressed, depleted, and be able to get my joy back again, feel healthy again, and be able to stay committed to my dream and reignite the passion that I have for my work in serving the people that I serve. So, my desire is that you can take these mindset shifts and skill sets and strategies and apply them to your own life. But then don't stop there. Afterwards, you can use these with your patients. You can use these with the people that you help if you're not in the healthcare profession and you're on tonight. You can use them in your family life, um, if your spouse is open to being helped. And you can help them as a parent. You can use these with your children as well. So the first point that I want to share with you is the whole perspective shift that you may consider adopting. What I notice is one of the biggest things that holds people back that I work with is this thinking, and it can get very deep and convoluted. That this is your time, by the way, to get a pen and paper out if you don't have it and you want to have these notes for later. I'm going to be kind of like giving you fire hose information this evening. So there's going to be a lot that I'm sharing with you. And you will get this recording if you just want to totally tune in live and then listen again and take notes. That's really helpful as well. So the perspective shift that is necessary at this point is one away from I can't. I should be spending my time doing this, or I should be helping, or I should be saying yes. I don't have enough time. Lack mentality around, I don't have the energy to do that. Maybe I'll start on Friday. My husband and I were just talking about that this morning. I said, maybe now is a good opportunity instead of Friday, right? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is right now. Have you heard of that quote? So I want you to think right now in your own situation, where you might be telling yourself you don't have enough of something to make the change that you'd like to make right now that would really help you have the energy and help you reclaim some time for yourself to create the personal life that would be satisfying. So, is it, are you telling yourself you don't have the time for it? And you're going to believe what you tell yourself, by the way. Are you telling yourself you don't have the energy? Or are you telling yourself other people don't have time for me that I want to spend with? I want to spend my time with those people and they don't have the time. They're too busy as well. Sometimes we can actually use that as an excuse for not pursuing our heart's desires, for not pursuing what would fill us with energy and joy, what would make us feel content. So, my encouragement is for you to get it on paper, because when you get those limiting statements on paper, things become real and you see where you're holding yourself back and where you're thinking small. So, where are you telling yourself, I should be doing that, even though every time I commit to it, I feel worn out? Or every time I commit to it, I feel resentful? Or every time I commit to it, even though it's something I love, it's a program I love to be involved with, it's a people group that I feel really passionate about, but it's still too much for me. Write at least one thing down that's coming to mind so that you have more awareness around your thought life. Because when you have more awareness, you can change. I see you as someone who's not a victim, someone who is rather an overcomer. So a victim says, all of these things are happening to me. All of these things are impacting my life in a way that might be difficult for me, is too hard for me, or that I don't like. But the truth is, you can change your perspective about yourself anytime. And you are an overcomer. So, how would an overcomer think about your situation? How would someone who is resilient think about your situation? If you looked through the lens of somebody who's creative or playful, what ideas would you get? What solutions would you get? What new insights would you get that would serve you and help you create the personal life that you're looking for? And we'll get more into this later, but I'm not talking about a personal life that would make anyone happy. I'm talking about a life that would make you happy. So you don't want to get into comparison that makes you feel bad that you're not able to have that life, or that makes you put more pressure on yourself because you're not living their lives, when in all truth, it might not be something that makes you happy and fills you with satisfaction. So that's the first step, switching your perspective. The second step is making space for you to actually think. When you're always in motion, you can really easily lose track of your perspective, and your brain's going and going and going because you're so used to doing, right? That resting can be really uncomfortable. Sometimes when we rest, fears come up, like, well, I have a ton of paperwork left to do. And if I rest right now, which is what my body and my mind is telling me I really need to do, then what's going to happen is I'm going to get more behind, and then your heart rate picks up and you get anxious. So you just do more work. But at that point, you're beyond tired. I have a feeling like someone can relate to that, where you're that cycle I just explained. If you can relate, stick your hand up. So what if you switched to the thinking that there's more that's possible for me than I'm giving myself credit? If you started thinking that way, then you might think, okay, well, maybe I could get more of my needs met. Here is a stumbling block number 2 that I've heard people tell me over and over. And that is, well, I feel like if my needs are being met, then someone else has to lose out. Like my wife or my husband or the people that I'm working with, someone's got to lose. So if I'm enjoying myself, or I'm taking a break to be with a friend, or I'm being really present with my spouse or whatever, I'm giving to myself, I'm honoring my needs and limitations, that means someone else is going to lose out. So I'm going to challenge you to get creative and think a lot bigger than that, because there's always a way to think both. So, how can my needs get met and I still have time for blank? I still have time to attend the meeting, or I still have time to go on a date with my partner, or I still have time for whatever it else it is that you don't want to fall behind, or the person you don't want to miss out. There's always a way for both of you to be happy. So that's some of the things that, as soon as you start noticing, oh, okay, well, I'm thinking bigger and I'm progressing. I've shifted my mindset to, and shifted my perspective to start thinking of everything that I could consider, instead of what I'm telling myself I don't have enough time for, I can't, or I should be doing. But now I feel guilty for even having a need. I feel like my needs are going to take away from someone else's needs. The truth of the matter is, I've done some research on happiness, and what I've seen in the reports is that happier people get to enjoy more productivity at work, higher levels of productivity. They have healthier, more connected marriages. They are healthier and avoid things like prolonged, um, poor health on all fronts. And I find it really fascinating that by thinking small, we limit ourselves to small results, and just how connected our thoughts are to the results that we get in life. And if we just slowed down and stopped being in motion all the time and gave ourselves 5 minutes to reflect and think about how to get creative and seize the opportunity in front of us, solutions can come to mind. But we have to move aside some of the fears and limiting thoughts that come up so that we can make progress. A couple more points. What I noticed was holding me back a little while ago in the story that I was telling you, when I felt really tunnel vision and really under a lot of pressure from my work, I noticed that I wasn't honoring my non negotiables. And this is the third step to really developing a personal life that you enjoy, and stop feeling drowning, like you're drowning in your work, is identifying what success means to you. So this is another opportunity for you to get your pen out and get really clear on, what are the non-negotiables in my day that totally set me up for success. They're not something that would make someone else happy. Like, they're going to be different from Erin's, are going to be different from Kirsty's. Daria's are going to be different from Tim's. We each have our own definition of success. And for me, that might look like my spiritual connection. I've got to make time to feel spiritually connected. I've got to make time to be in nature somehow and exercise. I've got to make time in the day where I feel connected to my husband and my kids. I've got to make time somehow where I feel connected to friends. What are those non-negotiables that lay a strong foundation for you, so that no matter what happens in the day, you feel solid and you can be proactive and you can be your best self? If you don't develop your own definition of success, you're going to be chasing someone else's, and you'll be prioritizing what makes someone else happy, and you'll feel frustrated. So just this one act that could take you 10 or 15 minutes of writing down, so what's my biggest opportunity right now? What's missing from my life right now? The answer to those two questions points you in the direction to develop what your non-negotiables are every day, so that even if it's not your ideal day and you don't have more time than usual, you could spend 5 minutes connecting with one of your kids who's across the world, and it changes your whole day. Or you could start the day in silence before everyone else is up for 15 minutes, and that's all that it took for you to think clearly and plan ahead. So what are your non-negotiables? That's going to be the start of your success plan, your personal success plan. So pace yourself, because when you're developing your own definition of success, you may be a very high achiever like me, and you just might want to go for the moon, right away. Okay, 5 days a week I'm going to do this, and 3 days a week my life is going to look like this. But you want to have realistic expectations, or you're going to feel really defeated. So what's realistic for me at this point in my life, at this point in my career? How often can I spend doing that? And sometimes we put unnecessary pressure on ourselves with unrealistic expectations. I've seen that a lot, and I've done that to myself, and it backfires. So how could you start slowly, baby steps, working towards one small change after tonight's call? One small change that would make a big difference, laying that foundation so that you feel confident and you feel content on a daily basis, not comparing yourself to anyone else. The last point I want to cover tonight is planning ahead. And you can't do this unless you slow down and give yourself space to think, like we were talking about earlier. It's completely necessary if you want to have a joyful outlook. If you want to feel energized daily, you need to plan ahead. And the funny voice that we can let in and take up too much space in our brains tells us, I don't have time to plan. I have to rush. I have to wake up and run. I have to shove food into my mouth before I go to work. I don't have time to plan. And yet when you don't plan, you're less satisfied. You waste time. According to some more research that I've looked into, for every 10 minutes you spend planning, you save an hour. So if that's not motivation, for those of you who value efficiency, it's motivation for me. 10 minutes saves me an hour, I'll take it. Something that can come up that might stop you from planning ahead is the thought that if I prioritize my needs moving forward, and I take an honest look at what's missing in my life and what my greatest opportunity for growth is right now, and how I could start creating my life instead of letting everything on the outside and the outside environment dictate what my life looks like. Sometimes people get caught up thinking that people aren't going to like my decision. Others around me aren't going to like how I'm changing my life up. It's going to disrupt their normal. And it's completely true. Some people are not going to like you. Some people are going to be upset with you. And maybe not just at work. Sometimes it might disrupt the family norm, your family's routine. But remember that there's always a both option. There's often an opportunity for both parties to be happy, or for both parties' needs to be met. And I'll be talking about that in a workshop coming up, more about how to ask for help and how to effectively communicate clearly and kindly at the same time, so that your interpersonal communication can improve and your needs can be met. But for now, remind yourself that it's worth others not liking you sometimes or being upset with your decision, because you're going to start asking yourself more often, am I liking my decisions? Am I liking my choices in life, in work, with my patients, with my colleagues? Even if I upset some people, do I like myself? Do I approve of myself? And you'll notice you stop looking for your approval and need to be respected from others because you respect yourself more. Before I open up for questions, I'm done the teaching portion of tonight. I wanted to keep it short because I know it's evening and I wanted to value your time. But I want you to consider as I close the cost that you pay for not changing, and know that you always have a choice. How you spend your time, how you think, what routine and habits you set up for yourself, you always have a choice. And all of us always are paying a cost, or we're dealing with natural consequences, right? It's a law of nature. So if I don't change in an area where I'm not happy, or where I see that there's a big opportunity for growth for myself, then I have to keep living with what I don't like. It's like sitting in a muddy pool of water when I could be swimming in, what are those pools, that infinity pool? Like, who wants to swim in an infinity pool? I'm a swimmer, so that really gets it for me. That really does it for me. So when we don't change, we have to live with our consequences, but we always have a choice. So ask yourself, how committed am I to making a small change, something that feels like it's within my reach? And if you're like on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're closer to a 10, you are well on your way to being able to make that change, and using just one insight or one strategy from what I've shared tonight. Because when we believe we can change, that's one thing that's necessary. Then the commitment to change is 100% necessary. Belief, commitment, and then the support from community is really important, because we up level to the behavior and the belief of the people around us, which is why it's so important to choose wisely who we surround ourselves with, right? That's the only time we really want to aim at fitting in, is when we want to up level to the behavior and the beliefs of others around us. I've got more workshops coming up. Anyone have any questions coming up, or any insights? Anything's welcome.
Amy and everyone, Amy, I love the idea of a success plan, and really then also creating time to really reflect on what's actually going to fit your life. So I think we take time potentially, or I take time in my day or in my week to think of a success plan, but sometimes it's just here, it's from here. And I think creating that space where you can really sink into the truth of yourself and create a success plan within the day, for my day or the week, that's from my heart and soul, that really aligns with my core values and the truth of what I need. So that really connected. Thanks.
Awesome. You're welcome. Yeah, I did that just yesterday. I had 3 things that were really important for me to accomplish. And then I said, I haven't even asked myself if there's something that I need in my day that would make me feel amazing, or even like a work-related task that would lift my spirit and energize me. And as soon as I asked myself that question, I ditched one of my other top to-dos and replaced it with something that was equally important and also made me feel fantastic and gave me more energy for the last 4 hours of my day. So it's really helpful to ask yourself those questions, even in the middle of the day. It's like the simple, what do I need right now? Or Or what do I need in work right now?
Yeah, I like that.
Maybe it's to personally follow up with a patient, or for you, Chantel, to personally follow up with a colleague or one of your kids or one of the families, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Amy, one of the things that I still am not doing great, but getting better at, is the idea of like taking the time to not just go, like continue to do and try and think and plan while I'm doing, as opposed to actually sitting down and making a plan. That like that's all I'm focusing on, is doing the like, this is what I'm going to do with my day. I find it really, really challenging, because I feel like if I sit down and do that, I'm wasting my time. So your comment about the amount of time you save by actually taking the time to plan is like, it just I was like, you're so right. Why can't I make myself do that? Yeah.
Yeah, and what I do too is I like doing little tests and experiments. So I will take 10 or 15 minutes, and I literally will only take 10 or 15 minutes. I'll put my alarm on, because time is so valuable to me too. I feel the same way. And I'll see how much planning I can get done in that amount of time, and then I'll call it quits. But I'm usually able to accomplish so much. I do that for cleaning too, because I don't like cleaning. So I'll just do a massive burst of whatever it is that I feel might be a waste of time, or might be unproductive, like when I could be doing, like you're talking about, Daria. Yeah, I can totally relate. And yet, how much more calm and accomplished we feel when we have a plan. And then we can focus on it, instead of the rest of the day be wondering if we're in alignment with our goal for the end of the day or the end of the week. Thanks for sharing. And Erin's just mentioning it's kind of loud in his house right now. Okay, I'll read what you said here. He said he's loved scheduling time to think and visualize. Yeah, I've been visualizing a lot. There's this quote that I really love, and it's those without a vision perish. And so if you turn that around, those with a vision flourish. So if we have a vision, we have direction, and not only direction, but a vision is like a dream. And when we have a dream, it energizes us. And when we're not refocusing on the dream or the vision, then we're lacking purpose. And purpose fuels us with passion. So it's really important to spend time remembering or visualizing what your dream is, why you're doing the work, why it's important, why it's necessary, who needs it, and what transformation it's going to bring about. Gets you right back connected to your meaning, or your meaning in your work. Hi, Deborah. I didn't get to say hi at the beginning of the call.
Hello.
I would say I could use that more in like my parenting skills, because I know why I do my job as a family doctor, and I find it rewarding. But I find it when I feel like I'm really like at a loss for finding enthusiasm for parenting, if I remind myself that like how special it is to even have my kids, and how blessed I am to even have them, and that they are going to be gone someday, and I won't be, like people always, say, "Oh, you'll miss it when they're gone," and you think, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to have time to myself." And then, but I really will miss it when they're gone. So when you stop and think of like, what's the goal here of like raising, happy, kids that enjoy life and value a quality life and are good for the world in general. And then you're like, okay, that's why I'm doing this, and I can move on and persevere, right? But if you lose the vision and you just like feel like you're just in the trenches and you're just slogging away and you don't know what's ahead of you, not looking at what the goal is, and it's harder to persevere and just keep, reminding your kids to do the same thing that you've told them to do a million times over in a positive, happy voice.
Yeah, and I think while you're sharing this, the whole topic of having a vision and remembering the purpose behind why we're doing what we're doing, whether it's in our professional lives or in our personal lives, it pertains to everything. It pertains to marriage or romantic relationships, right? It's like, why am I in this again? Oh yeah, okay, so right now the weather's changed and it's like a storm in my relationship, but I'm remembering why I'm in this, or the deeper commitment, right? It applies to everything. Oh, I said that and my heart just got soft because this topic is really important. Thanks for sharing again. Anyone else want to chime in?
I'll just say a little bit. I just got back from Tofino from a 4-day mindfulness and medicine workshop with Mark Sherman, which was fabulous. We talked about the non-negotiables, which are brilliant. And we talked about making a space to meditate, not making a space to be mindful every day. But we even asked the question, when do you take that space, and when do you take that time to plan and to actually, because when you're being mindful and planning comes in, you have to say, okay, I'm planning and then take it out. But we need time to plan. So I like that. I don't take time to plan in my day. You get up, you be mindful, you go to work, you make dinner, you do your work. But I agree. I think that the planning is something that is lacking, and I don't take the time to do that. So that's a great thing for me to work on. Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. And one thing I'll add there, if you are a spiritual person, or you're craving more of that in your life, one thing that I add to planning in my day is, and this doesn't come naturally necessarily. I love the benefit, I love the result, but it's something just like exercise that I have to make time for, is when I plan for my day, I will also, depending on like what spirituality means to you, you could apply this differently to your life, but I will ask God, are there priorities that I am not prioritizing that are more important than the things on my to-do list that you want me to not forget, or you want me to, that you want to have on my to-do list? And that's transformed my day as well, because it will remind me, oh yeah, make time for that thing that really matters. Or reach out to that person, and you'll be like, why is that person just not going away from my brain? And there's in my opinion, there's a bigger picture at play for each of our lives. And when we can plan for our day with more spiritual insight, or more soul insight from the heart, if that might be more your language, then we gain a lot more insight and a lot more awareness that is going to help us feel stable and solid and grounded, and yeah, not so reacted and blown around like a wave on the sea during your day. Yeah, I love the balance, Bonnie, between spiritual and practical. I'm very practical as well. It's got to be actionable. Deborah, did you want to show your face? Can we see you? And did you have any questions or feedback? Oh, you're muted, but thanks. We can see you now.
Something I've kind of found helpful is writing down an intention before work. It kind of reminds me that I'm not there to solve everyone else's problems, but there to show them their own power. And it reminds me also that I have boundaries and I need to ask for help. And so I've written out sort of an intention, and it's almost for me like a plan for how I'm going to show up for that time. And yeah, I read it to myself every time, and it helps me. I've started doing that recently. Mm-hmm.
Great. Yeah, that helps me too. I did that right before a challenging call today. I said, this is how the challenging call is going to turn out. And sometimes like kind of like a second step for your intention, if you're interested, could be saying it out loud.
Yeah.
This is how this is going to go. This is how I'm showing up. And also what that made me think of, Deb, thank you for sharing, or Deborah, you okay with Deb?
Yep.
Okay, is we have the power to change the environment around us. We don't have to show up and wonder, oh, how am I going to feel today? We get to choose how we're going to step into situations and change them, which is really exciting. Remembering or being aware that you have that power to transform the culture of your clinic or your department. You have the power to bring light into situations where other people feel heavy. It's really an honor to be able to look at yourself and acknowledge that you can do that. Intentions are one of those ways. I want to, more questions are welcome, more insights are welcome. Yes. Daria says you're the thermostat. You get to be the thermostat.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to welcome you if you're interested and you're curious about anything that I've spoken about today, and I can be of further help to spend 20 minutes together. It would be my pleasure and honor to be able to support you in creating just one action step to move forward with, or take one of the insights and move it forward. Just reach out to me. I'm not sure how well, I know how, Christy, you found out about this tonight, but Deb, are you friends with Daria as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an easy way to get a hold of me. You can get a hold of me through email if you'd like to spend that 20 minutes with me. It'd be my pleasure. Coach A, I'll just put it in the chat here. And if you're curious about the other workshops too, let me know, because they're coming up. I'm thinking they'll probably all happen within October, but maybe one in November. Coach A at amyanglemark.com. Yeah, and thank you so much for joining. It's great to see you again, Tim, and great to see you ladies for the first time. Erin, it's been a while. And Bonnie, I can't believe you hopped on the call after Tofino. Chantel, lovely to see you. Daria, I love that you're joining us outside. So any other questions or insights before we close up?
I'm just going to say this. I think another one that hit me, and it's just, you know, you talked about swimming, right? And the muddy puddle basically analogy. And, you know, I either shift and change and do different, or I'm going to get the same results. So do I want to live with that same result in whatever area? And if I can make peace with that, fine. But I'm obviously here for a reason. So if I can't make peace, then I have to accept that I need to change and shift. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, I'm really good at thinking of the changing and shifting, but I'm not realizing how I'm living this less than consequence than I want to live in my life, because I'm not doing work at the forefront. So that really stuck with me too. Thanks. Thanks for listening. Me.
You're welcome. Can't tell, Daria, if you're trying to unmute or if we're all good. Okay, thanks everyone for joining, and I hope to see you on during a workshop soon, or reach out to me for that 20 minutes together.